my water just broke. I felt like things really intensified.
She was right there and she was coming.
It was an amazing feeling.
I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. I could feel her head.
We heard her cry. We were squeezing hands and she was screaming.
I'm Bryn Hunt-Palmer, and you're listening to The Birth Hour. This podcast is designed as a safe place for women to come together to share their childbirth stories. Stick around and join us to hear informative and empowering birth journeys from women all over the world. Today's episode is sponsored by Grove Collaborative. Small changes toward a healthier lifestyle can add up in a big way. A great place to start is with the products you use in your home. Opting for natural and sustainable household essentials is not only better for you, but the environment too. Grove is the online marketplace that delivers healthy home, beauty, and personal care products directly to you. Grove's Beyond Plastic line includes home cleaning essentials designed to help solve the single-use plastic problem. I love that their refillable hand soap, dish soap, and cleaning concentrates use glass and aluminum packaging, which are infinitely recyclable and will help save almost 30 tons of plastic from ending up in landfills in just 1 year. I'm so excited about this focus because Grove's reusable products have been some of my very favorites from the beginning. I love their refillable glass spray bottles and microfiber cleaning cloths, and I love that the refills come in even more sustainable packaging now. If you want to use less plastic but aren't sure where to start, Grove will guide you along the way. Join over 2 million households who have trusted Grove Collaborative to make their homes happier and healthier. Plus, shipping is fast and free on your first order. Reducing your plastic footprint has never been easier thanks to Grove Collaborative. For limited time, when my listeners go to grove.co/birthhour, you'll get a free Beyond Plastic gift set with your first order. Go to grove.co/birthhour to get this exclusive offer. That's grove.co/birthhour. Today's guest is Jerika, who had a surprise roadside delivery, and as a fun twist, the 911 call that they made was recorded, obviously, but they were able to get a copy of the recording. So we're going to hear that first. You'll hear her husband on the phone with the 911 operator who they got to meet, and then we'll hear the birth story from her perspective.
Bravo 911, what's the address of your emergency?
We're actually on the freeway. My wife's pregnant, and she thinks she's going to have a baby.
Okay, are you stopped on the freeway, or are you still traveling to the hospital?
We're actually headed to a birthing center, but she doesn't think she's going to make it there.
Where exactly are you?
We are Provo Center Street.
Okay, are you able to get off the Center Street exit?
Yep, just got off.
There's a hospital, if you can make it up to the hospital, that is not far away. Do you want to try and get there, or do you want me to try and send you the paramedics?
We'll try and get there.
Okay, just go to 500 West, turn and go north on 500 West, and up the street. You'll run right into it about 10 blocks up.
Okay, thank you. Can I just go to the very front?
Yeah, just pull the ER. You can just pull right in, and I can call and let them know that you're on your way right now. What kind of vehicle are you in?
We're in a white Kia Sorento.
Okay, do you think that she's going to be able to make it? Do you need me to stay on the phone with you until you get there?
I think we're probably good. Her water just broke.
Okay, don't hang up the phone. Just set it down. I want you to focus on driving and getting her there safely. If something changes, I'll still be on the line with you, and you can pull over and let me know, okay? Just put the phone down and try and get there safely, okay? Somebody call the hospital. Tell them I have an incoming pregnancy. She's in labor right now. White Kia. The water broke, but it sounds like it's pretty imminent. They just got off the exit. Just let me know and you need to just have her tell you if she feels like she can't make it to the hospital. I can send someone to help you. But if you can make it to the hospital, then we'll get you there, okay?
Sorry, you trying to talk to me?
No, you're okay. Just let me know if anything changes and she feels like she can't make it so I can get an ambulance to you, okay?
Okay.
Is this her first baby? Is this her first delivery?
It's the second.
Second delivery? Okay. How far apart are the contractions?
They're pretty less than 30 seconds.
Less than 30 seconds apart?
Yeah.
Okay. Can she feel the baby?
She doesn't dare touch?
Okay, I need her to do this, okay? I need her to check and see if the baby is coming out. Okay, you focus on driving and getting her there. Hon, I need you to do this, okay? We need to know if the baby's close.
Hold on.
You're okay. Well, I'm right here on the phone with you, okay?
Yeah, it is.
You feel the head?
Uh-huh.
The head's coming out right now. Okay, I need you to pull over. I need you to pull over and I need you to help her. We're gonna deliver her baby, okay?
Okay. Hey,
Where are you at right now?
we're at 500 West and Center Street's the light. The light just turned green, so give me just 1 second.
Okay.
I gotta find somewhere to pull over.
Okay. Just pull over wherever you can, okay?
Okay. You're good. You're good. Okay, we're in the Rent-A-Center parking lot.
You're in the parking lot of the Fresh Market?
No, we're in the parking lot of the Asian store.
Parking lot of the Asian store, okay.
Yeah, the Asian market.
Okay. I want you to go over to your wife's side of the car and open the door, okay? Is she able to just turn so that we can start to deliver the baby?
Can you turn?
I don't care. Get somebody.
Let's take this off. Okay.
Lay the seat back as far as it will go, okay? I realize that she probably can't lay on the floor.
Okay. Seat back.
Make sure all the clothes below her waist are removed.
Okay.
Okay? If you have a dry shirt or anything in the car that can help you, just make sure that's close, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I want you to look at her vagina very carefully and see how close the baby is to being born. Do you see any part of the baby?
I can't see the head.
Okay. If you can't see the head yet, we still have a little bit of time, but I want you to wait there with her. Tell her to take slow, deep breaths between contractions, okay?
Okay, I can see the head.
The head is coming out. Okay, with each contraction, place the palm of your hand against her vagina. Now, apply firm but gentle pressure to keep the baby's head from delivering too fast and tearing her, okay?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. As the baby delivers, support the baby's head and shoulders and hold its hips and legs firmly. Remember, the baby will be slippery, so do not drop it, okay?
Okay.
Is the baby out yet?
No.
Okay. Have her push hard with contractions to get the baby out, okay? You guys can do this. We're right here with you. Help is coming, okay? Let me know when the baby's out, okay?
Okay.
Remember, keep your head against the baby's head to keep from delivering too fast, okay? Is the baby out yet?
Nope, we're just waiting for the
Okay. Okay. Just have her push hard, okay?
You're okay, you're okay, you're okay.
Please, I want to go home.
You're good. You're good.
Is the baby out yet?
Nope, not yet. We're still
Okay. Okay, just have her push hard, okay?
Okay. You're good, you're good, you're good, you're good.
You're doing so good. Keep going, okay? Have her lay back as far as she can, okay?
Okay, we are?
Okay. Have her grab her knees and pull them up to her chest and then push hard so the baby will come out, okay?
Okay.
You can do it.
You need me to move my leg? Okay.
Okay, push hard, okay? Remember to support the baby. Hold the baby so he doesn't come out too fast, okay?
Push, Jared. Jared, you gotta push again. Push again, Jared. Just push again. Oh my gosh.
Is the baby coming out?
Yeah, we got the baby out.
Okay, keep the baby between mom's legs and level with her bottom. Is the baby crying?
Yeah, the baby's crying.
Okay. Can you get a shirt or even mom's pants and gently wipe off the baby's mouth and nose?
Okay.
Dry the baby off with a clean towel and then wrap the baby.
Can you hold on just a minute? No, can we get it? Don't leave the baby.
Yep, just hold the baby even with mom's bottom, okay?
Okay.
Wipe them off the best that you can, the mouth and the nose.
Okay.
And then wrap the baby up in a clean towel or a shirt if you have it, okay?
Okay.
Cover the baby's head and not his face.
Okay.
Without pulling the cord tight, put the baby down between mom's legs and level with her bottom. Make sure that the cord is not wrapped around the baby's neck, okay?
Okay. We're good.
Okay. Keep the baby warm and make sure mom is warm, okay?
Okay, good. There, do you have a shirt? Okay. Just don't trigger on the touch. You're good. You're good. Oh, we're good. Oh, dear. You're okay.
You guys are doing so good. You're doing so good. Is baby breathing okay?
Yeah, she seems to be.
Okay. Listen carefully and I'll tell you what to do next, okay? We're going to watch the baby closely for 3 minutes. Okay? Make sure the baby's breathing and that she's crying, okay? Keep her wrapped up and warm and don't cover her face, but cover her head, okay?
Okay.
You guys are doing so good. So good. Is mom doing okay?
Mom's doing good.
Okay, just keep baby level with mom's bottom. Make sure the cord's not pulled tight, okay?
Okay.
Just watch her closely here for a couple more minutes, okay? Or do you have anything in the car, like a shoelace or anything that you can use that we can tie the umbilical cord with?
Not right on me. I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. We're just going to keep baby level there with mom, and the paramedics can take care of it when they get there, okay?
Okay. I can't believe this happened.
Is baby still doing okay?
Yeah, she.
Okay, mom, you doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you guys did so good.
Amazing. Yep. She's only one cat.
Oh.
She's still doing okay?
Yep, so far.
Okay.
She's good. She's still good.
Just keep her wrapped up and as warm as you can, okay?
Okay. You good? It's kind of a spot.
And I don't want you to pull on the cord, but the afterbirth may deliver soon, okay?
Okay.
Let me know if this starts to happen. It might feel like another contraction, so just let me know if that starts to happen, but the paramedics should be there fairly quickly, okay?
Okay. Huh? You're good. Yeah, she's breathing. She's good.
Yep, just keep her wrapped up as best you can and keep her warm, okay? Make sure you keep her level with mom's bottom, okay?
Okay. Good. Good.
You're right there by the Asian market, right?
Yeah, we're in the parking lot right next to the Asian market. Yep. In the white Kia.
Are you on the north side there of the Asian market?
Yeah, yeah. They're here right now.
They're there with you?
Yep, they just pulled up.
Okay, I'm going to let you go. You guys did such a good job. Congratulations.
Thank you for your help.
You are welcome.
Hi, Jerika. Welcome to the Birth Hour. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Can you start by telling listeners a little bit about you and your family?
Yeah, I live in Spanish Fork, Utah with my husband and my 2 daughters. Me and my husband got married in 2015, and then a few months later got pregnant with our first daughter, and she was born in July of 2016, so she just turned 2 at the first of this month. And then we just had our second daughter May of this year. So we have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old, and we really enjoy spending time with our family, and we're lucky that they live close by, so we get to do that often.
Yeah, that's so nice, especially with 2 super young ones.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your first pregnancy and birth.
So with my first, we had a planned hospital birth, and then we were just seeing an OBGYN, and everything with that pregnancy went really well. I didn't have any cramping, any bleeding, anything like that. My water broke on July 1st, the evening on July 1st, and I didn't have any contractions leading up to that. I just bent down, picked something off the ground, and I stood up, and I was like, okay, I either peed my pants or my water broke. So I let my husband know, and then we called over to the hospital, and they just said to come in. So we immediately went over to the hospital, and they tested my water, and it was my water that had broke. So they almost immediately hooked me up to Pitocin, and in that aspect, I feel like I wasn't very knowledgeable about labor and delivery and such. And, I didn't know that I had a certain amount of time after my water broke that I could wait to see if contractions picked up by themselves. And I didn't really know much about Pitocin. I didn't know that I could walk around to try to get contractions started and stuff. So they just said they were going to hook me up, and I was like, okay. And so they hooked me up, and a little bit later, my contractions started with that. And going into her birth, I wasn't against an epidural, but I was just kind of like, we'll see how it goes. This is my first pregnancy, so I didn't really know what to expect, obviously. So I was just kind of go with the flow as far as an epidural went, and I eventually did get an epidural with her. And then the rest of the labor went really well as well. And when it came time to push, I pushed 3 or 4 times, and she was out. She was born. I tore a little bit, but nothing major. And then with that, I just remember the recovery was really rough. Took about 2 or 3 weeks before I started feeling normal again. It just kind of hurt, or really hurt, to sit or sleep or anything hurt. I mean, I'm sure it's like that for a lot of people. So, but it's hard to deal with in general, let alone when you're taking care of a new baby as well. And so I knew going into this birth that I didn't want to feel like that again after, especially knowing that I would have 2 kids to care for now. So I kind of researched a little bit about that, and I found a lot of women were saying that their unmedicated births, their recovery from that was a lot better if they were unmedicated, or a lot easier. And so that is kind of what helped me make the decision as far as going unmedicated for this birth. So once we decided to go unmedicated, we started looking around to see what our options were as far as that goes. And we were looking at birth centers mostly, and we found one here in Orem, Utah, Better Birthing Center. And we started seeing a midwife over there. And so our plan was just to go to her as a midwife and then give birth over there at their birthing center in Orem, which is about a half-hour commute from our house. And so my second pregnancy was pretty much the same, and we decided not to find out the gender with this baby. I kind of had the thought in mind anyway that not knowing her gender might make the birth process go by faster, just anticipating that, or I don't know, make it even more exciting. I'm not really sure what I had in mind as far as that goes, but we made that decision not to find out. And so, yeah, her pregnancy went just about the same as well. I did a lot more research this time around, knowing that I was going unmedicated, just to try to make the labor and delivery part of the experience go by any smoother or faster that I possibly could. Because I knew that was going to be the toughest part as far as going unmedicated for myself, was if I was going to have a really, really long labor, that it was going to be a lot more unlikely that I was going to stick through with it. So I did a little bit of research and talked to my midwife, and she recommended, eating dates and drinking the raspberry leaf tea. And so I started doing that about probably 2 months before my due date, which was May 20th. And I feel like that had some effect on the way my delivery and labor went. So with her, I also had Braxton Hicks, or contractions, or whatever you want to call it, and cramping 2 to 3 weeks before she was born. It was just at night. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and, I'd be able to feel them, and they'd eventually go away. And they weren't really timeable. Some would go from 5 minutes to 12 minutes, 5 minutes to 12 minutes, back and forth and stuff. So I was never really sure with that, but they would always fade away and I fall back asleep. And so then the morning of May 18th, about 4 a.m., I woke up and was having these again. So I laid there for a while, and I noticed that they were at least timeable. They were pretty consistent. They were about 20 minutes apart. They weren't painful or even uncomfortable at this point. They were just noticeable. So I got up and went and laid on the couch and just continued timing them. I'd just fall asleep in between, and when my stomach would tighten, I'd know, and they were lasting about 1 minute at this point, but they were still really far apart. So this was a Friday morning, so my husband had to go to work. So he left our house at about 9. And since they were still really far apart, we just decided that I'd keep him updated, let him know if anything changed and if I thought he needed to come home. So he went to work, and I was just with my daughter. And so about 10 a.m., they kind of picked up, but they still were just noticeable. They still weren't even uncomfortable at this point, and they were maybe 12 minutes apart. So we still had a while, I felt like. And I decided to get up and do a little bit of cleaning. And when I got up, they almost immediately picked up as far as time went, or length in between went. They were about 2 to 3 minutes apart, but they were only lasting 20 seconds maximum. And so they were really close together, but they were only lasting seconds. And so I cleaned a little bit longer, and they were still that way. And they were still they were maybe getting to the point to be uncomfortable, but they weren't anything that I felt was serious or anything along those lines. So this was about 10 a.m. And the fact that they were like this kind of had me really confused. I was wondering, okay, is this really the real deal? Have I even been timing them right? Because when I was sitting down, they were 12 minutes. And then immediately when I stood up and walked from my living room to my kitchen, I had 1 or 2 contractions in that time. And so, I was curious if I even knew what a contraction felt like. Was I sure that this was a contraction that I was timing 2 to 3 minutes apart? And so I was really confused about what was going on. And so I cleaned a little bit longer, and then I went and sat back down on the couch, and then they spread back out again. They were still 12 to 9 minutes apart, and then they were lasting a minute again. And so I looked at an email that I had gotten from my midwife, just like an informative email. It had just kind of gone over when to call, and it mentioned the 511 role and such. And in the email, it had talked about the fact that the most important part of this role is the length of the contraction, and that they were lasting an hour, or that I had been having them for an hour. And so, I was thinking, well, they're 2 to 3 minutes apart, but they're only lasting 20 seconds. So this must not, and they obviously weren't, I wasn't having them for an hour, because every time I'd sit down, they would stretch back out. And so, I was thinking the only way they're going to last an hour is up and moving, and they're only lasting 20 seconds in length. And so that had me even more confused. And then, so I sat there for a while, and they still were consistently like 12, 11, 10 minutes apart. And so I decided to get up and take my daughter to the store. And again, when I got back up, they were 2 to 3 minutes apart, but only lasting maximum 20 seconds. And they were still they weren't barely uncomfortable. They were just there. And so we went to the store, and when I got back home, it was about noon. And I put her in her high chair so that I could, try to figure out what the heck was going on. Put her in her high chair and gave her some lunch. And I just sat down on the couch and tried to figure it out. And at this point, they were picked up a little bit. They were probably 8 minutes apart. But still, they were kind of getting uncomfortable, but yeah. And so I was looking online, and I was waiting for my sister to come get my daughter. And I still hadn't called my husband. I think we were texting back and forth, and I was telling him how far apart they were, but I still wasn't concerned about anything. And so we sat there for a while, and about 1 o'clock, they started picking up as far as like how intense they were. But even when I was sitting on the couch, they were still really spread apart. I don't think that they were ever 5 minutes apart when I was sitting down. So I sat there on the couch and I noticed that they were getting more intense, and I was having to kind of think through them and, try to breathe. And, I'd read that you obviously don't want to fight the contractions. You want to work with them. So I was just trying to relax and try to work with my body as far as the contractions were going. And so I was sitting there doing that, and about 1:30, they were getting really, really, really intense. And so I texted my husband and asked him if he could come and sit with my daughter until my sister was there to pick her up. And I texted him that, and I remember about 1 or 2 minutes later, I texted him and said, "You better just come home, period." Because within those couple minutes, I was having a hard time sitting down anymore. I was having to pace back and forth up and down the hall because it was just getting so intense. And it took him about 15 minutes to get home. So he got home about 1:45. And within that time, I just remember I was trying so hard to remember everything that I'd heard and learned, and about just relaxing and working with my contractions. And it was not happening. Every time a contraction came, I was just tensing up every muscle in my body. And I was walking up and down the hallway, and every time a contraction came, I was leaning against the counter, just on my tippy toes, just squeezing everything because I couldn't work with them anymore. And so he got home about 1:45, and they were really intense at that point. And I really wanted to get in the shower, and that's kind of why I had asked him to come home to sit with my daughter so that I could get in the shower and just kind of relax. And I'd put my yoga ball in there in the shower so I could sit on it and just let the water run. And so when he got home, I was getting ready to get in the shower, and I decided I'd better call my birth center. And so I called them and just let them know that, I think it was time for me to come in. And they just said, "Yeah, come in and get checked." And I let them know that I was just going to jump in the shower really quick and that we'd head right over. And so I got in the shower, and immediately when I sat down, it was the worst contraction that I'd had so far. I sat down and I could just feel things shift, and I knew that everything had just moved downward. And so I stood back up and jumped out of the shower. And so my shower lasted maybe 30 seconds. And I told my husband when I got out of the shower that we have to go. And we were still waiting for my sister at this point. So we were just kind of in limbo. And so I went and got dressed, and I laid down on the bed. And while I was on the bed, I had one more contraction, and it was a pretty good contraction as well. So when I got up off the bed, I told my husband, we have to go. I feel like my body's going to start pushing. And it was definitely starting to push. Even it was just doing it on its own. I was really trying hard not to push. And so we still had a 30-minute drive to my birthing center, and I was really unsure about what was going to happen. And I was not excited about getting in the car because I was having such a hard time sitting as it was. And I knew if I was having to sit so still to get there for 30 minutes, that it was going to be a nightmare. And so my husband started throwing things in the car as I was making my way out there. And he was getting ready to pack up my 2-year-old in the car as well. And as I was making my way out there, I called my sister, and luckily she was just down the street. And so she got there, and we just let her take care of my 2-year-old, and we jumped in the car. And as we were getting in the car, I guess my husband made the comment to my sister, "We might have this baby on the side of the road." He said that to her jokingly. And so we got in the car, and I was just gripping the door handle as hard as I could. And we have a sunroof in our car, and my other hand was gripping the edge of our sunroof, and I was trying to lift all my body up with my arms because I just could not sit down. And I just remember it being so painful. And even before we got to the freeway from our house, I did not know if we were going to make it. It probably would have been a smart idea just to stay home, but we were determined to make it. So we got on the freeway, and we started heading that way. And about 5-10 minutes into our drive, my water started breaking. And I remember as we were going there, I was trying so hard not to push, even though my body was. And I just felt like one of those, those squishy toys that you squeeze and their eyes pop out of their head. That's literally what I felt like. I was trying so hard and squeezing every muscle in my body that I felt like my eyes were bulging. And at that point, I was like, "Hey, you have to call the midwife and see what we should do. I don't know what to do." And so my husband called the midwife. I was just trying to drive, and he's flying, and he calls her hotline, and he wasn't able to get through. And so I was like, "Just call 911, And when I told him to do that, I more so had in mind that maybe they would send a cop to escort us there, as silly as that sounds now. Maybe they'll send somebody that can escort us there so that we don't have to wait in traffic or the red lights, or because maybe if we don't have to wait for any of those things, maybe we can make it. And so that's what I had in mind when I called 911. Obviously, when he called, the dispatcher was instructing us to go to the nearest hospital. So he called 911 and told her that I was pregnant and I thought I was going to have my baby right then. And so she instructed us to get off the exit that we were just about to pass. And so we were clear in the left lane. We had to get off the exit clear on the right. And so I remember her asking, can you get off this Center Street exit? And that was right when we were about to pass it. And my husband just flew across traffic and we got our 911 call. And listening to it, he sounds so, so calm. And he was pretty calm. I'm not going to disagree with that, but for the circumstances anyway. But when she asked us that, I remember he just flew clear across traffic. And listening back to the 911 call, it's so funny to listen to how calm he was and just remembering just how chaotic the situation was and or at least how crazy in my head I felt like I was. And so he darted across traffic and he just calmly says, "Okay, I did." Like it was no big deal, like we were getting off anyway. And so we got off the exit and made our way down the road, and the hospital was just maybe 5 miles off the exit, maybe not even that. And the whole way there, I was just thinking, I really, really hope we make it there. And so she was just, she was asking if we were going to make it. And my husband just said, we're going to try. And so we stayed on the line with her, and she was really great. She was just easing my husband through it. And she asked at one point if I could feel the head. And I really did not want to try, because I knew that if I could feel the head, that things were really happening, that it was going to happen soon, and that the likelihood of us not even making it to the hospital was very, very likely. And so we still had maybe a mile or so down the road, maybe 2 miles, to get to the hospital with lights and traffic. And she talked me into it eventually to feel for the head, and I did feel, and I could feel the head. And so we were stopped at a red light at this point, and she told us, pull over, we're going to deliver the baby. And so my husband went through the red light and pulled into this parking lot, a parking lot of an Asian market, just a little side parking lot. There was maybe 2 cars in the parking lot with us, and he pulled all the way to the back, and she told him to get out and come to my side and to lay down the seat and all that stuff, lay it back as far as possible. And so we laid it back, and he came over to my side, and luckily I was wearing a dress. So, we just had to take off one layer, and she asked if he could see the head, and he couldn't at that point, he said. And so she just started telling him what was going to happen, that once you see the head, you're going to start, applying pressure. She's pushing so that it doesn't tear, so the head doesn't come out too fast. And that when the baby comes out, support the head and support the shoulders. And she even said that the baby was going to be slippery, so don't drop it. And talking to my husband after the fact, he's like, I don't remember anything she said as far as that went. I was just there. And so she was really supportive the whole time. The whole time on the phone, she was just saying, "You got this. You're doing so, so good." She was really great. And so with the first contraction, he couldn't see the head. And then at the end of the first contraction is when the head started, that he could see it. And so I had the one contraction, and you could see the top of her head. And then we were just waiting for the next contraction. The dispatcher was still on the phone, just telling us, "We got this. The ambulance is coming." And with the ambulance, there was actually a fire in the town that we were in. And so all the ambulances were already on this call to this fire. And so the ambulance that she had sent was from a different town. And so we were waiting for the ambulance, which is why they weren't there yet. With the next contraction, I pushed, and she just kept telling me to push. And so I pushed with the next contraction, and the head came out. And after that happened, my husband just kept saying, "Push again, Jer, push, push, push again." And I remember when I started pushing, I had heard a lot of women say that, after the contractions, their pushing was much easier because they knew that they were almost there. And so I definitely underestimated pushing. Since with my first, I had an epidural, I didn't feel anything. And so I underestimating what pushing was going to feel like. And I don't know if it was as painful as it was because I was literally thinking it was just going to be easy, even though they were just saying it was the end of the tunnel for them. So it wasn't necessarily easy. It was just the end. And so it was very, very painful. It was a lot of burning. It was not what I was expecting, but luckily I pushed during my second contraction and her head came out. And then my husband had just kept saying, push again, push again. And so when I pushed again, it was during that same contraction and she was all the way born. And so it was really a fast, I think it took about 4 minutes since we pulled off of the road and my husband came to my side for her to be born. And that was mostly just waiting in between contractions. And so, she was born there and the dispatcher was just telling us, keep her level with mom's bum, and try not to pull on the umbilical cord. And she was telling my husband to wipe off her nose and her mouth. And, my husband was still in his work clothes and he's a mechanic. So they weren't clean work clothes. So he just took off his shirt and flipped it inside out and wiped off her nose and her eyes. And she started crying. And so she seemed to be doing really well. And the dispatcher was also just letting us know if we had any blankets to wrap her up in them. So I reached in the back seat while she was laying there between my legs and grabbed some blankets that he could wrap her up in. And at this point, we didn't think about the fact that we didn't even know her gender. My husband, we were both consumed in the excitement that was happening. So I eventually asked him, well, is it a girl or is it a boy? And we found out it was a girl. And, that we thought that was going to be the most exciting part of our birth story was finding out the gender of the baby, but we were wrong. But we were excited it was another girl. And so at this point we were just kind of waiting for the ambulance. And the ambulance finally got there about 5 minutes later. And when they got there, they came over and they clamped the umbilical cord and they let my husband cut the umbilical cord there in our car. And then they asked if I could get up and get on the gurney to be put in the ambulance or if they needed some more people to come help me. And I think that was a really big eye-opener with this birth versus my first, is that I was really worn out. Don't get me wrong, my muscles were so tired. I kind of felt like a rag doll, so I had to sit there for a bit, but only for a couple minutes to kind of gain my strength back up. But I was able to get out of the car by myself and get on the gurney, and it wasn't, I was weak, but nothing was painful. So that was really exciting for me. And so I was put into the ambulance with the baby, and my husband drove the car to the hospital. And while we were in the ambulance, I just took our vitals and, made sure everything was good. And the baby was a little bit cold, but she was otherwise good. And so was I. I was a little bit shaky and all that stuff that comes with it. But other than that, there was really no pain or anything. And in the ambulance, they just kept reminding me that if I was having contractions and I felt like the placenta needed to be delivered, to let them know. But luckily, we were just about a mile away from the hospital, so we were able to make it there. And on the way to the hospital, my husband decided to call both of our mothers and let them know what happened and that it was a girl. And I'm a little bitter that I wasn't able to be a part of that. But I guess I can't be too mad since he did just deliver our baby. And I think he was in a little bit of shock still. So, and so
he probably felt like a superhero himself. He's like, I got to tell everyone about this.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt. And when he told me, I was like, oh, are you kidding me? But I was like, okay. We're both here. We're both fine. So I can't be too mad. So, we got to the hospital and they took us up to labor and delivery because when we were on the phone with the dispatcher, she had told them to call the ambulance to call the hospital before we had even got off the freeway to let them know that we were on our way. So they were everybody from the labor and delivery or whatever was already out waiting for the ambulance. So we didn't have to be admitted to the ER or anything. We just went straight up to labor and delivery and they delivered the placenta up there. And I remember we were still, both me and my husband were still so in shock. We were just like, did that really just happen? Did that really happen? We had our baby in the car because you see, you hear about it happening and you see these videos on Facebook or online and you never think that it's going to happen to you. And especially I didn't. With my first daughter, her whole birth experience, she wasn't born until 10 a.m. the next morning. My water broke at like 9 p.m. the night before. So it was a pretty, long labor. And with her, my contractions weren't even painful until maybe 2 hours before. And so she was born about 2 p.m. and I didn't feel like my contractions even became uncomfortable until noon. And so really I was kind of chalking up those contractions to maybe being Braxton Hicks, or since they were just noticeable, they weren't even uncomfortable. And so we got to the hospital and they delivered the placenta, and me and my husband were still like, what? That really happened? And so they admitted us to the hospital and we stayed for 24 hours. And she was, like I said, she was just perfectly fine. She was a little bit cold, but after a couple hours, she was back to the normal temperature, and I was just fine as well. I didn't have any tears or anything this time. And so I was really, really relieved with that. I didn't have to get any stitches or anything. And so we stayed for 24 hours. And when we were released, I felt so much better afterwards. I felt 100 times better taking care of 2 kids this time around than I did even taking care of myself the first time around. So that really stuck with me, that even after all that dramatic experience that had happened, that I felt 100 times better than I did when I had an epidural the first time. And so loved the unmedicated experience. And so we were able to meet the dispatcher that was on the line with us. My husband's uncle was telling a story to one of his friends at work, I guess, and the friend had a daughter that knew this big long story, and the daughter had told this dispatcher that she knew about what happened, if she knew any of the details and stuff. And so it was actually her friend that was online with us, and so she wanted to meet us and meet the baby. And I guess it was her first delivery. She had worked there for 8 years, and it was her first time delivering a baby. And so we got to meet her. And before we met her, she had mentioned that her boss wanted to do like a media story about it. So when we met her, we were able to get an interview with the news station or whatever. So we have that as well. And they also sent us the 911 call. The people with the news station sent us a 911 call. So we have that as well. And it's so, like I said, it's so funny to listen back on it and hear.
It's such an out of body experience
to
hear it back. And we're going to put that audio file in this episode so people can hear it too.
Oh, awesome. And exactly. It feels like a lifetime ago already. And it's so funny to hear like how calm it sounds on the thing. And it wasn't as crazy as it could have been for sure, but how calm everything sounds on it and relaxing and peaceful almost, versus what was really going on, like being in the situation. And like I said, my husband was definitely calmer than I probably would have been in his shoes, but I was so disoriented from everything that I was just kind of there. My husband at the hospital was able to put his name on her birth certificate as a physician, and
awesome.
And we had to put the parking lot address as her birth location.
Oh my
gosh. It's so funny. And so that was an experience.
That is amazing. There's actually a show that just started this year called 911. Have you seen it?
I haven't.
Well, it's like it follows the story of a 911 dispatcher, a firefighter, and a policeman, and like kind of how they all sometimes end up interconnected on the same call or whatever. But one thing that she talks about is how she never gets to find out how it ends up or like meet the people that she helped through this like super intense moment. Because once, the first responders get there, you hang up the phone with the dispatcher. So it's so cool that you guys got to meet her, because I had never thought about that before.
Yeah, it was really cool. And she kind of said something along the same lines that, you don't get to find out what happened. And the only reason we did is because somebody was telling a story to this person, and this person overheard, and this person passed it along to this person. And it was just like a small world experience that we even figured out who it was or got in touch with each other in the first place. And we were really happy to be able to go over there. And the media or the news story was just kind of highlighting dispatchers, and we were really happy to be able to do that for her because she was really great online with us. And she said that she was reading out of an instruction manual, but I can't believe how calm she was and how great she was about everything that was going on and how supportive she was. She wasn't just there giving us instructions the whole time. She was there cheering us on and stuff. And so that was really neat to be able to do that.
Yeah, she totally sounds like she's done it like 10 times before.
Right? Yeah. And she said, not a lot of people do here in Utah anyway, because there's a hospital in like every town, and the freeways goes through every town. So most of the time ambulances are able to get there before people even have their babies, whether it's on the freeway or whether it's in the city or at their homes. Or so most of the time the dispatchers don't get this opportunity. So she said she got a badge for doing it, and it was really cool to be able to, support her because she was so supportive for me and my husband. And so, yeah, it was really interesting.
Awesome. Well, how did you feel? It sounds like you felt pretty good overall about the experience, just emotionally as well.
Yeah, afterwards, when we were in the hospital, when we were just admitted to the labor and delivery, my husband was asking me, well, would you do it again? And I'm like, well, hopefully not like this ever again, but afterwards, after it like sunk in that everything was fine and I wasn't so jittery and still in shock a little bit about what had just happened, I would definitely do it again. I mean, as far as doing it unmedicated, maybe next time do a home birth, or maybe next time leave when I feel like I need to leave and not try to labor at home so long or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the recovery was so much better. And that was by far the worst part of my first labor. Having my first baby was the recovery. And so I would definitely do it again.
Awesome. Well, did you want to share where people can find you to connect online?
Yeah, my name on Facebook is Jerika Cruz. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll link to that from the show notes page so people can find you. But I can't remember. I guess it was in BirthTube that you posted the audio. So you're in there as well if anyone wants to find you.
And that's a great place. And it was, when I posted that, it was so interesting to see how many people kind of said that they had the same experience or close to the same experience where they had their baby in the car, or they just barely got to the hospital before they had their baby. And it was really neat to hear all those people that
I know it happens
could relate
way more. And that's actually something I've heard skews the statistics for out of hospital births and outcomes because people they count those as out of hospital, whether it's planned or not. So roadside deliveries are being thrown in the same category as a planned home birth, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Oh, and I bet that it does, because even when we got to the hospital, they were kind of they didn't know what to do, how to admit us, and they didn't know who to send in to see us. It was kind of funny that they didn't, I don't know, obviously it doesn't happen very often, but they didn't know really what to do. They were kind of questioning, well, do we send this doctor in? Do we call this person? Because we were planning to birth at the birthing center and our midwives aren't associated with this hospital. So they really were just kind of confused as where to go when we came in. So
yeah,
it was
kind of interesting. Already most of the way through this process.
Yeah.
So
and I don't think we even saw a doctor until we were getting ready to leave, because we wanted to leave as soon as we could. Right. And they recommended we stay 24 hours. And so to be able to leave in 24 hours, they had to send a doctor. And I think that was the only point that we actually even saw a doctor there.
Oh, wow.
Was just to give us the okay to go. And so it was kind of funny.
That is funny. All right. Well, I'm going to, I'm going to add that audio in so people can hear the 911 call, which is really fun. And then they can see pictures and stuff on your show notes page. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm like I said, I listened to the birth hour when I was pregnant. And so when you reached out to me, I thought that was so cool. I'm like, it's not just some random, podcast. It's a podcast that I followed, and I thought it was so cool. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm happy to be able to share my story on here. It's awesome.
It's awesome that I think all the born in the car type stories we've had have been actually really positive. So it gives people hope if they find themselves in that situation.
Yeah. We were so thankful for that. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much again to Jerika for sharing her birth story with us, and to Grove Collaborative for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget you can go to grove.co/birthhour to get a free Beyond Plastic gift set with your first order, plus fast and free shipping. That's grove.co/birthhour. If you want more information from today's episode, just head over to thebirthhour.com and search for Jerika's name in the search bar. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, head to thebirthhour.com and click Become a Member to pledge your support. And as a thank you, you'll get an invitation to join our private Facebook group and access to exclusive episodes. Your vote of confidence and support means the world to me.